Today I'll share two stories with you. The initial one occurred in the United Arab Emirates, and the narrative is about a woman named Gayran. She lived in the United Arab Emirates city of Sharjah, and the story took place in 2013. Gayran worked as a nurse in one of the hospitals during the morning shift, and since it was the morning shift, she arrived home in Sharjah district of Al Musalla around 3 p.m. When she returned home, she discovered that someone had broken in and turned her apartment upside down. Everything literally was a mess. The furnitures were here and there rearranged and tossed. Things had been tossed here and there. So Gayran here was afraid to enter. Upon looking the view from the outside, she was afraid to enter, especially when she thought that her husband would be at home by now. She started calling out his name or yelling from the outside, calling him Muhammad. But of course, there was no response. Therefore, she gave him a call. And again, no one answered. She was again, I would say, afraid to get into the apartment. Therefore, she went to the security man. And there she called him to enter. He would be a great help, she thought. And here the security man, upon reaching the apartment, finding that the door was broken, he didn't realize that someone had entered or someone strange would have done such a thing. Now, the first thing they started searching was, of course, for her husband. They thought he would be in one of the rooms, but they didn't find him. They did notice a bag, a suitcase, which had been kept in one of the rooms above wardrobe. But later she found it in the kitchen. Someone had moved this suitcase to the kitchen. Now, as I said, someone had moved the suitcase to the kitchen, and it seemed that something was inside the bag. Realizing that, Gayran and the security man refused to open the bag, and they were afraid to do so. Therefore, of course, they got out and they gave a call to the police. She said them that maybe it would be a case of robbery, as her husband was not present at home. The police arrived and they started searching the apartment, and when they got near to the suitcase, the first thing they found upon opening was the body of Muhammad, his dead body itself. Someone had killed him and forced his body, twisted and turned the body after killing it and made it fit into the suitcase itself. The body, of course, was taken to the forensic department for investigation. And now that the investigation had begun, she explained that what happened was that she left for her job, and then when she got back, she found the house messed up. The door was broken. That means someone has got into the house, and then she found the suitcase, which she was afraid to get closer to. They asked, "Your husband is dead now, so there would be someone, an enemy or someone in this case." But she said she didn't have any enemies whatsoever. And she said that, and on the other hand, she was married before. So she explained during the investigation that before marrying this man, of course, she was a divorcee. And the man, her ex-husband, was the one who was threatening her. But the thing here was that he was in Pakistan. But he did call her from time to time. Even if she changed her number, there was no use at all, because he used to find the number and used to threaten her. Of course, threatening her was threatening that he'll kill her. So when she changed her number, he used to find out in one way or the other, as I said, and that caused a disturbance in her life, because she used to stay in thinking that something could happen. But again, it was also a relief that he was not in Sharjah or even in the United Arab Emirates. Now, of course, she didn't know if he had any relation whatsoever for the cause of her husband's death, but she said that he was in Pakistan and that they asked him for his information, and when they checked, they found out that this person was in Sharjah and left for Pakistan during the afternoon, almost at 12. Means he was present in Emirates itself. And he left the airport of Sharjah International Airport, and went to Pakistan. Here there was no question whatsoever that he was the one who had murdered her husband. And the problem is that when did he arrive? When did he plan the whole thing? When he doesn't know where they live, or arriving to a new country and having perfect information about everything before attacking the man and how to get rid of him, aiming after arriving for the first time would be impossible without any help. So, of course, the question during the investigation was, how would he know where to go for the very first time arriving to a very new country? It was clear, they asked him, that it could be a family member or a very close friend who knows them very well, who knows the person she's married to, and even knows the timing. When does she leave? When does her husband leave? When they arrive? And was in contact with her ex-husband. Again, if it would be a family member, she said, friends don't know what had happened in her life, that she was divorcee and how she was dealing with her new marriage. They had no idea. The only one who could know every detail of her life, past and present, was her only brother, Adil. Now they checked other informations related to Adil after taking his data, and it was almost night or evening by now. And upon searching, they found out that Adil was at the airport and he was about to exit because he was done with his passport and was about to travel or leave the country. Of course, the police said, Gayran, that your brother is about to leave the country. Do you have any idea? She said, it's impossible. I mean, he has a job and he didn't inform her that he was supposed to actually travel. I mean, after knowing all of this, he was the first person, after knowing that her husband is dead, he was the first person she was trying to contact. But she couldn't. But she didn't thought that the reason would be that he would be at the airport by now. Of course, her brother was now one of the suspects, and it was clear that he would be involved by some way or the other. So they immediately informed the security at the airport, and they said that you will not allow, of course, they wouldn't allow this person to travel, and they arrested him at the very last moment before the flight could depart. After being arrested, he confessed that he had, of course, before he could confess, they knew that he had booked the ticket twice the same day. That is, he had booked the ticket firstly with the ex-husband of Gayran. And the second time, of course, there would be some reason or the other he couldn't reach the airport or something, that he had booked another ticket, which was about 8 to 9 p.m. It was during the evening. Now, the question here was, during the investigation, that was he involved with the murder of his sister's husband? And the answer was that, honestly, he did cooperate. I mean, he didn't kill, but he was a part of it. He cooperated with his sister's ex-husband, and he gave him all the information. And the reason the honest answer here was that he offered, the Gayran's ex-husband offered a huge amount of money, which he couldn't refuse. And he said that because he has a huge hatred towards her and her husband, he used to threaten her by giving her calls, but he couldn't do anything else. So in the end, the only way he thought he could reach and take revenge was through her brother. And he didn't know that he will help him immediately, but of course, again, the reason was that he gave him a huge amount of money. So the criminal here, who was Gayran's ex-husband, was able to get out of the country without even being arrested till now. And the one now who was under investigation, or who was the only suspect to be present in the United Arab Emirates, was Gayran's brother. So Gayran's brother was the one who had helped the criminal to he prepared everything. He had the visa ready and also gave him the address, or took him to the apartment, to his sister's apartment by himself. And here what happened exactly. They went to the apartment, they knocked the door, and Hamid, because he knew Adil, welcomed him. Upon entering, these two criminals started beating him and hitting him until he was dead. The criminal asked Adil that if he could stay with the bag or with the suitcase. Gayran's ex-husband decided to go and get a taxi. And they would leave the apartment with the bag, dispose it somewhere or the other, throw the suitcase in an unknown area, and leave for the airport. But it didn't go according to the plan, of course. What happened here was that the criminal left the apartment and locked the door behind him. Means he locked the door on Adil. So there was no way Adil could escape. I don't know if he didn't notice this at first. Why would someone lock him? But he did manage to leave Adil alone in the apartment and left, claiming that he would just get the taxi and get everything ready so that they could of course, dispose the body and leave for the airport. Now he was waiting. He was waiting for hours. And then he decided, when he was in panic, that something, of course, the criminal had left. He wouldn't be waiting for Adil. So here he planned to break the door. He planned to break the door open. Before breaking the door, he gave him a call, but of course, he didn't answer. And that's why he ran away, and of course, he had a back plan, maybe by now, that he would leave the airport or go to Pakistan from the other flight. But he was not lucky enough, and he missed his first flight, and so did he miss his second. Adil was arrested and sentenced to prison. As for the real criminal, he had fled, and no one knew where he had gone. Of course, later the authorities of United Arab Emirates, contacted the authorities of Pakistan, but didn't find the criminal, as the criminal, they said, it's not present in Pakistan. And therefore, he actually previously sold whatever he had before leaving Pakistan, and he was nowhere to be found. He could be anywhere, and possibly he had changed his name and his identity. Now for our next story. This other incident occurred in Egypt and involved a man who was married and living in Luxor. Luxor is a city in Egypt which is visited by millions, and the people, honestly, are very respectable and very kind people. This man here was blessed with a son, and the son was almost 2 weeks old. He was as usual, he had a job and a hard day of work. He returned home, where he found his wife. She was taking a nap, and she was supposed to be taking a nap with her son beside her. But because she was exhausted and she had just given birth 2 weeks ago, she was in deep sleep maybe. It was supposed to be a nap, and that's normal. So when he arrived home, he found his wife asleep, and he wondered where his son was. He thought maybe the son was in one of the neighbor's house or one of the relatives. Maybe she had handed over her son to one of the relatives and was taking a nap. But of course, she knew that her son was supposed to be near her. So upon waking up, she didn't find her son. And this was the moment they realized that this had to be led to a search for her son. The child here, Hamada, the baby, he asked her, of course, where he was. And she didn't know what to say, because apparently he had been abducted. Means he was asking her that someone had entered the house. In this case, the wife, she thought that, yes, she sensed that it could be an intruder at that time. Now, they were trying to find the child here. On the other hand, on a railway station, people were leaving from Luxor and going to Guinea station. And here someone heard a baby crying. They couldn't see any baby, or it was not visible that there was a child somewhere or a baby somewhere around. They found a box, a carton, which was underneath one of the seats in the train. And that was where the baby was. And he was Hamada, of course, the missing child. The child was lucky enough that because he was crying, he was, of course, hungry as a baby. But the baby was lucky because there was one woman who was holding a baby. And here she said, hand me over the child till we can find out what to do, what would be the next step. Here the woman was very kind to actually feed this child with her own. After feeding the child, and when they had reached the station of Guinea, they had informed the police, and the police here, and they also informed that originally the train had arrived from Luxor. So they had to bring the infant back to Luxor. The woman had been gracious enough, as I said, and she also, not only did she feed the baby, also she got on the train from the station back to Luxor so that she could take proper care of the child and make sure that he was safe and was fed regularly. Immediately, they had kept the child in the ambulance and took him back. And they had informed the parents that there's a missing child. And when they got there, they found out that this was Hamada. His parents were so happy and so delighted to see the child back. They went to search the cameras which are on the stations. They found out that there was one of the women who was carrying a cotton box. And the woman here, the father of Hamada, realized that he knew the woman, and she was the wife of his brother. And there he knew that she's the one who had taken Hamada away from his mother while she was sleeping. The reason here was also clear because she was jealous, and this was a way of taking revenge. This woman here, of course, has children, but all her children are girls. And the moment Hamada arrived, people were like, wow, it was a big deal, as we know. And we say that repeatedly that in some countries, having a son is a huge deal. When Hamada's father was blessed with Hamada, she thought that why did this happen? I don't have a son. And people also notice that thing and they remind the woman how unlucky that woman can be, which is something which is, I would say, that's ridiculous, and it's illiteracy. It's pure illiteracy. Anyways, she confessed that she was the one who had taken the child away from his parents, and the reason again was that people would say that she was not able to give birth to a boy, but this was the mere reason of revenge, or maybe it was trying to hurt their feelings in a way or so. Again, she confessed that and by the way, the whole event or the whole story, the moment Hamada was taken away from his parents till the time he had arrived in the arms of his parents, didn't take more than 2 to 3 hours. That's how lucky he was, or that's how God had protected him for all times till he got back to his parents. Thank you for listening, and if you like the story, please do not forget to click the like button. And again, just a reminder that these stories are taken from the YouTube channel of Abu Talal Hamrani. His stories are in Arabic, and that's it. Do not forget to subscribe. Thank you for listening.